This is your Wednesday daily delivery. I'm Michael Rand. Hope you guys are having a good day out there today. It's June. Sports calendar getting a little slow here. We got NHL playoffs still going on. NBA Finals certainly going on right now. Get to some Andrew Wiggins talk here in a little bit. Got to talk Lynx. They lost again, 3-9. I think we can conclude at this point, unless we get more evidence very soon, this is just a bad team. I'm not saying they're going to be bad for a long time. I'm not saying they might not even rebound and sneak into the playoffs this year, but it's not a good team. Not a good team right now, and it is showing up on the court, losing to New York on Tuesday. I will be joined here in a little bit by Lindsay, Whalen, and Ben Johnson, head coaches of the Gophers women and men basketball teams, respectively. Had a chance to catch up with them the other day in Stillwater at the Gophers Coaches Caravan. Those teams both start summer training next week, get on the court with their new players. Some high expectations for a lot of the new players they're bringing in, especially Lindsay, Whalen with the Gophers women. So get into that with them and just the impact of the transfer portal, what they're looking forward to this year, things like that. So I hope you enjoy that conversation. But first, we got to start with Twins versus Yankees. As unpleasant as it might be, as predictable as it might be, Twins lose 10-4 to the Yankees on Tuesday night, the first game of that 3-game series at Target Field. I tweeted as the game was going on, as the Yankees jumped out to a 3-0 lead. What I tweet said, sometimes baseball surprises us and sometimes it does not. Very basic tweet, but the narrative, of course, going into this game was how good the Yankees are. And even though the Twins are a first-place team in the American League Central, they've certainly had their struggles against good teams this year, particularly Houston and the Dodgers. And they have certainly had their struggles against the Yankees in the last 2 decades. I'll get to those specific numbers here in a minute, but it was kind of more of the same in this game, unfortunately, for the Twins. They just don't match up against, some of the teams that have this elite depth. It's not a surprise. I mean, the Yankees are now 40-15. Twins still a very solid 32-25 record. And it was, the Twins should get a modicum of credit for battling in this game after they went down 3-0, and it could have been pretty ugly from the jump. They did get this thing back to 4-3, then 5-4. Yankees kept, kind of responding and then blow the game back open in the 7th inning when Tyler Duffy gave up a 3-run home run. ERA for Tyler Duffy right now, 6.55. Actually, the first 4 pitchers the Twins threw out there on Tuesday night, ERAs of 8.49. That was starter Cole Sands, who didn't make it out of the 4th inning. Manaya, 8.53. Cano, 10.13. And then Duffy, 6.55, and getting higher and higher. So, it was a night when the Twins maybe didn't put out each one of their very best pitchers, kind of trying to keep in the game, maybe save those guys for a night where they're a little bit more competitive. But, it was a competitive game into the 7th inning. We're not talking being proud of moral victories. Well, we're talking here about just, that it didn't get out of hand until late, but then it did, 10-4. So that to me was a discouraging sign as well. So, that's kind of the way it goes. That's the way it has gone as this whole 2 decades have gone. Yankees now, since the start of the 2002 season, and remember, 2002 was when the Twins got good. They have won the division 8 times since 2002. They have made the playoffs 1 other time as a wild card. They've missed the playoffs once in a game 163. So 10 of the last 20 seasons, the Twins have either made the playoffs or been eliminated. 10 of the last 20 seasons, the Twins have played beyond 162 games, or beyond, I shouldn't say that because one of those years was a 60-game season, but you get the point. Half of those seasons, they played beyond the regularly scheduled regular season. And it's still, against the Yankees since 2002, including the postseason, they are 38 and 110. That is unbelievably bad. I mean, I know the Yankees have been very good during that stretch, but so have the Twins, by and large. Like I said, half of those years, those were very good Twins teams. To have that dismal of a record, to be 2-16 in the playoffs against the Yankees since that time, it defies logic. It defies reason. It defies everything that you could imagine statistically. It's just, I don't care how big the Yankees' advantage is, how much the disparity is in payroll. You can live with the Yankees beating them 65 even percent of the time. This is so lopsided. It's like 75% of the time the Yankees are winning. Like 3 out of every 4 times they go out in the field, and it feels even more lopsided, right? Can you remember the last time the Twins beat the Yankees? I'm sure it's happened recently. It just doesn't feel like it. You don't remember the wins. You remember the losses. So we'll see if this gets any better as the series goes along. Don't have a ton of faith. Chris Archer gets the call on Wednesday. Thursday's game, by the way, Dylan Bundy against Garrett Cole. That's not looking promising to me, but that's why they play the games. We'll see if things get any better. We'll see if the Twins can get at least one of these next 2 games and then get at least one of those games against Tampa Bay. They took 2 from Toronto. That was unexpected. That got them kind of going in the right direction in this tough stretch. But part of the problem is if they're this bad against the elite teams in baseball, what does that mean for their long-term prognosis? Even if they are able to win the weak American League Central or get into the playoffs as a wild card team this year, what does that mean for when they get to the postseason? Are they going to have a chance to break their 18-game postseason losing streak? I don't know. We're getting ahead of ourselves at this point. I know. Enjoy the season, as Mike Tice once said. I get it. I get that we should enjoy this team. They're winning more than we thought they would. It's still just discouraging to watch them play against these good teams, especially the Yankees, 38 and 110 in the last 2 decades. That defies all logic.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake for 24/7 gaming, fun restaurants and bars, and luxurious hotel rooms. And join Club M to bask in the rewards. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
Hey, I'm really happy to have Lindsay Whalen and Ben Johnson on today's Daily Delivery podcast. Obviously, the basketball coaches at the University of Minnesota. Welcome, you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
We're out at the Caravan, Gophers Coaches Caravan, out in Stillwater today when we're recording this. And I kind of thought it would be fun to talk to both you guys at the same time because I feel like you've had, your own lives, obviously, but some similar shared experiences with coaching, especially modern coaching and, the whole world of transfer portal, name, image, likeness. We'll get into that in a little bit. First, you got to be excited. You get your new players on campus now. You kind of getting a fresh start. Classes starting up. How's that feel? Lindsay, go ahead.
Yeah. First day of class. It's kind of crazy to think. It's that part is different now than when we played because you didn't have like your 8 weeks of summer like workouts. You were on your own for workouts, and it was more or less optional in the summer. Now pretty much everybody takes classes, and so it's it's great. You get a whole summer with your incoming freshmen. For us, so we have 4 incoming freshmen, we have 4 transfers, 2 grad transfers, 2 undergrad transfers, 3 returners, and so now we get in the gym with them, and so that's obviously very exciting. And the class that we have coming in, we've been recruiting them since they were freshmen in high school. And so to finally get them on campus is pretty special. So we'll start workouts next week. This week is kind of start classes, get acclimated to campus, get some appointments and things like that done, and then we'll hit the gym and the weight room and all that next week.
Ben, same thing for you, man. It feels like every year you're going to have a lot of newcomers just with the way things operate now. But it's got to be kind of exciting just to see how these people get into your system and what it looks like.
Yeah, for me, it's always nice when you get new blood in, and you obviously don't want to, every single year have crazy turnover, but that is part of college basketball now. It happens, but I think when you have new blood, whether it's transfers from a different program, whether it's freshmen that you love, whether it's a player that maybe you had out with injury or redshirt, there's new energy and there's new life for everybody. And so I think that's what we're most excited about, is to get on the court with some of these younger guys and some of these newer guys and, see what they got and be able to see how they fit into what we're trying to do. And like Lindsay, we'll start Monday and begin that process.
Lindsay, you talked about the class you have coming in. We've talked a lot about that class. It's a lot of, highly touted, a lot of, big-name Minnesota recruits. Kind of feels like it's like a lot of pressure to put on a class because, you don't want to say these guys have to be like that good, but they are that good. So how do you what's the message when they come in?
For those guys, they're all so competitive, and they want to do what they know can be done here. It's been done before. Go to the tournament, go to the Final Four, and so they've heard a lot, and those expectations and things like that are all things that we manage. But for them, they're excited to be in the gym and get to work, and so they all stayed home for a reason, and so everything from the outside. That's what you want. You want to have that. Great players want to have that pressure because that comes obviously with talent and expectations. So they're all four. It's nice that there's four of them. They can help each other through, and we'll be there to help them through. And they have the rest of their teammates. So it'll be something that we're more always looking at it as an opportunity more than anything.
How much do you guys like recruiting? I know you have to do it, and you guys are both have Minnesota. You went here, things like that. But how much do you like recruiting both in and out of the state?
For me, it is. You don't really think about it because it's you got it. You do it. I think the fun part about it is, unlike high school, you can kind of determine what your team looks like, and you can kind of go out there and try to get players that can fit a certain style, and you're not handcuffed. And I think that is kind of the positive with the new rule, with the transfer portal, is that from a coach's standpoint, you do have versatility. You have opportunities to grow in different areas, or you might lose a player, but it's another way to go out there and recruit and try to get different. And I think the game's always changing. I was just listening to a podcast on the way over here, and they were talking about there's really not, at least in men's game, true centers anymore. So now it's kind of like, are you changing with the games? And I think you can do that year to year now with recruiting. So just try to flip it to the best of your advantage, and just know that change now is inevitable, and you just try to make the most of it.
You like recruiting?
Yeah, it's part of it. You wouldn't be doing this if you didn't like it. It's sales, recruiting. It's all like, no matter what. I feel like a lot of lines of work, you're going to be doing that, and so it's like Ben said, it's how you want your team to look like, what personalities, of course, like X's and O's, how you want to play, but just like who's going to mesh well, what is she good at, where can she help us, and so you're able to go out and get to know people that are going to be able to carry out your vision, and so to me it's what it is. You wouldn't be a college coach if you didn't like it. You'd be coaching on, you'd probably in the pros or whatever, because that's different. So it's you get to represent your home state every single day and go and sell that and sell your vision. So it's a fun challenge. It's a big time competitive part as well. Recruiting in the Big Ten. It's constant. It's all the time, and it's what it is. It's what we signed up for.
You guys have both talked about the transfer portal already. Just like people say, how much it's changed college basketball. I don't feel like we are all college sports. I don't even think we have an idea totally. It's almost like saying the internet changed computers. It's like it's almost the thing now. You still recruit high school players, but like, have you guys had a chance to like step back from the process and it just think about how much this has changed what you do just in such a short amount of time?
No, for me, I don't know if you have time to really sit back and feel like, because you just it is what it is, and we're all learning as this process goes, and I think every year you get more and more comfortable with just kind of the nature of college basketball. But to say you have time to like sit back and almost reflect, I don't know if you do. Because now, literally, I mean, whether it's the end of the Big Ten tournament or if you're able to go to the NCAA tournament, there's no breaks. You're right into the portal. And so there isn't that gap period where you can sit back and really analyze. You're almost doing that during the year as the year goes on. And so, I think, like Lindsay's talking about, it is what it is. It's a part of the game now. And I think a benefit for both of us of being a younger coach is I think our ability to be able to adjust. I think as you get older, sometimes it might be a little bit harder to see the game and recruiting change. Whereas now, us being newer coaches, you're able to be adjustable and adapt more. And I think that's going to probably be the key as we go forward.
Now, you did transfer as a player, but obviously you did not. How much different does this feel from the time when you were players? Like, go back to when you were both at the U 20 years ago. Does this feel like college basketball has completely changed, or does it feel like a lot of it's fundamentally the same? Or is it both?
We had people transfer during when
Sure.
I played. So it's something that is always, I think, since I've played and now coached, it's a part of it. And so, yeah, I think this year was somewhat of a perfect storm because we're entering somewhat of hopefully like post-COVID.
Yeah.
Where last year the rule changed whenever it changed, but campuses weren't open so like after your season, let's say your season, everybody was done by April.
Yeah.
Campuses weren't open to go recruiting until June. So people were kind of like, a couple people, we've had transfers every year, but I think there's a lot of people that kind of just hung tight, and then this year was like a lot of people just like that went in, and so I think you just got to keep adjusting and keep working with it, and it's a lot of it has changed, and like Ben said, gone are the days of like after the season you're gonna go and I'm gonna take a few days here to just kind of catch my breath and collect my thoughts, and you have a meeting the next day because you got to you're re-recruiting your team, you're recruiting high school kids, you're recruiting the portal, and then you're kind of trying to at some point analyze what just happened this year and kind of figure out ways to get better. But it's why you got to have a great staff, and like Ben said, you got to be really good at multitasking. And that's how it is.
Sounds like a lot. A couple more things for you guys. One, do you ever think about how, man, this is wild. We were both players in this league 20 years ago, and now here we are at the same place, same time. Do you ever talk about this, like, just the connection and just the kind of not the parallel lives, because you've had much different lives, but how you kind of came back into the same place and now you're doing the same thing?
No, I do think it is cool. I think to be able to see, two people in our position. Can't believe it's already been 20 years, but
sorry about that. I feel old. Don't worry, I'm older than both you guys, so it's all right.
But it is cool to see, and obviously, when Lindsay was playing, they had a big time run, and so to be able to watch that and now watch her as a coach is cool. I think that is one thing that makes Minnesota special when you look across the board, not just us, but whether it's wrestling or baseball or you could go on down the line like gymnastics. I think they do a great job, and Mark's done a great job, administration's done a great job of, giving former student athletes a look, and you don't see that all the time.
Yep.
And I do think, Minnesota is different in that way, and so I think it's not only unique in our situation, but in our athletic department to be able to see that, and it's cool. And I think, not to speak for Lindsay, but when you're a former player, it definitely is a little bit different when you're coaching. There's a little bit more. The losses hurt a little bit more.
Oh, sure.
There's a little more extra there. So that also goes with it.
What's the one thing you guys are most excited about for this year? Whether it's, I don't know, what gives you optimism for next season?
The group we have coming in, we've been for us. It's, number one class in the Big Ten, and so now it's just let's get to work and let's put it all out there. So for us, it's we have, not only those 4, but we essentially have a clean slate as well. I mean, we had obviously Katie, Maggie Rose, a couple returners, but you essentially have a clean slate to go into the year with, and so it's like Ben has mentioned, it's what it is now, where year to year you don't want to have that much turnover, but for this year, speaking, looking at what's coming up this summer and in the season, it's exciting to think that this team is gonna, form its own identity, and we're gonna roll with that, and so that's part is exciting for the summer to start to build those relationships and build that trust and build that confidence in each other.
Yeah, I think new challenges. I think every year presents something new because the league's going to change. There's going to be different players, sometimes different coaches. I think every coach grows as they do this longer. So I think it's just the new challenge that this year is going to present that gets you excited because you have a new roster. It could be a different way that you do stuff defensively. It could be different stuff you do offensively. I think that brings a different type of energy every single day when it's not it's not the same as last year, and you got to find different ways to try to be successful and be good and get your players better.
Thanks, you guys. Go Mingle.
Appreciate
Sounds
it.
good.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
I don't think we mentioned the players by name that the Gophers women's basketball program is bringing in, but quite a recruiting class. Mara Braun, Amaya Battle, Mallory Heyer, and Nia Holloway. Big, heavy class of locals. Mara Braun from Wayzata, Amaya Battle from Hopkins, Mallory Heyer from Chaska, and Nia Holloway from Eden Prairie. So 4 suburban Minnesota players ranked very high. Best recruiting class in the Big Ten, was up there nationally when they signed this class. A lot riding on how good these 4 players are, but they are very good. So this is the kind of class that could turn things around for that program. This is the kind of class that they envisioned when they hired Lindsay Whalen to be the head coach, that she could pull in this caliber of recruit, this caliber of Minnesota recruit in particular. So that will be interesting to watch this year. I don't know if we can expect it to happen right away, but it's exciting. It's exciting to watch them, be this high ranked in these recruiting rankings and see where they can take this. So it's a whole new world for Lindsay Whalen recruiting. She's, like she said, she's got to recruit the portal. She's got to recruit her own players to keep them here, and she's got to recruit high school kids. And then beyond that, she's got to try to figure out how to make her current team better. Ben Johnson said a lot of the same things. It's a different time. It's a difficult time to be a college basketball coach. This isn't rocket science, but it is a challenge. It is different challenges than when these 2 were players at the U that they are facing now as coaches. So I thought that was interesting, and I hope that you enjoyed that conversation. Lindsay Whalen's old team, the Lynx, struggling right now. 3-9, like I mentioned at the jump, just lost to New York and lost big. Not much going right in that game. Cheryl Reeve with some pretty pointed comments after the game. Head coach, general manager of the Lynx, after they fell to 3-9, said, here's the first one that she said, they played considerably harder than we did. Their offensive pace, their will far outmatched ours. And whenever that happens for us, we're not a very good team. Said later, we couldn't generate offense. We go from having a very efficient game, and then next game, our defense is going to take hits when your offense is that inefficient. Lynx made just 3 of 22 3-pointers, shot 33% from the field. Final score in that game, 88-69. So it shows you kind of where they were at in that game. It kind of shows you where they're at with this roster right now as well. They've made a lot of changes throughout the year. Came into the season with some optimism, but then shuffled the deck when they got off to a bad start. And it's gotten a little bit better, but it hasn't gotten markedly better. And it feels like, unfortunately, this roster kind of feels like one of those bad Timberwolves teams of the David Kahn era. And I'm not, let's hold on for a second. I'm not comparing Cheryl Reeve to David Kahn. That's not what I'm trying to say here. Cheryl Reeve is 100 times more accomplished than David Kahn. She has won 4 WNBA championships. What I'm saying here is the roster they have assembled feels like there was just an air, a little bit of desperation, and just keep adding veterans, try to patch holes, and it's not working. It kind of feels like that last Kahn team in 2012-13 when they were a little bit better. They brought in Rick Adelman as the head coach, but it's like, hey, maybe Andrei Kirilenko will help. Hey, maybe Brandon Roy could help. Maybe Josh Howard is the answer. Let's go get Chase Budinger. It's just like, okay players, but not much of a system, not much of a plan. And that's what I felt like the Lynx have looked like from the start on the court this year. Just not a team that didn't have a great plan, didn't have a great handle on how they were going to get through the season without Nafisa Collier, their best player, who obviously was out in the early part she was pregnant and now is on maternity leave. We're working through whether or not she will play or not this year, bigger than basketball, but certainly impacting the basketball. It just doesn't feel like they have figured out how to play without her. And, take the best player off of anybody's team, that's going to be a difficult, tall task. So I'm not saying this is easy or that they should have had answers. I'm just saying, looking at the roster, looking at their record, looking at how they have played, they do not seem like they have a lot of the answers right now. Now let's finish with the cooler. Andrew Wiggins, Golden State Warriors, they resume play in the NBA Finals tonight. That is Game 3, a big one for sure in that series. Obviously, when you're tied 1-1, series shifts to Boston, 8 o'clock game in that one. Should be interesting. Andrew Wiggins, a subject of a big Zach Lowe story on ESPN.com. I believe that came out on Tuesday, just kind of looking at how the trade came together with the Warriors and the Wolves. Hurts to see that some in Golden State would have done the trade straight up instead of involving the draft pick that ultimately became number 7 overall, with the Warriors taking Jonathan Kuminga, and we'll see how good Jonathan Kuminga ends up being, but could be the replacement eventually for Andrew Wiggins, which brings me to another point. I feel like we've seen for the last year and a half, these Andrew Wiggins has changed stories. Andrew Wiggins, fresh start in Golden State. Andrew Wiggins, better defense. Andrew Wiggins more efficient. All those things have been marginally true, but whenever I've seen one of them, I've always gone to the numbers. I've always kind of looked and kind of tried to figure out what's going on here, and I've always thought to a certain degree that these stories were planted by Golden State trying to kind of launder Andrew Wiggins' image to rehabilitate it to the point where, hey, he's a useful player for them right now, get the most out of him while he's here, but they're going to want to trade him at some point again down the road, and that time is coming probably pretty soon if indeed they are going to trade him, because he's got 1 year left on his contract after this season, and not the kind of player you're probably going to extend unless you've decided that he's more valuable to you than it looks. He's certainly playing an important role for them this year. A rangy, long wing, moves pretty well off the ball, has been better on three-pointers. I think he's hitting at about 38% in his Warriors career. That's good. That'll work. If he had shot that well with the Wolves, that might have been a different story. But roles were different. I'm not disputing that his role in Golden State hasn't been better suited for him. What I am saying is his role in Golden State is not one of a max player. I just can't imagine him staying there on a max contract or whatever his next deal might be. So I'm curious how good the fit really is, or whether once these finals are done in a week or two, whether he is going to be the subject of trade rumors once again, and whether some of this talking up of Andrew Wiggins was really genuine, or whether it was an attempt to inflate his trade value. So watch for that after this series is over. I'll certainly be watching for it as well. That'll do it for today. Looking forward to watching that Game 3 tonight, as well as other stuff. Thanks for listening today. We will be back at it again on Thursday.